Hi, it's Big Eyebrow Bill here. I'm feeling pretty dysphoric today, and I'm going to go through a little timeline of my transition since just before when I realised I was non-binary in late 2015 up to basically the present day. I will be 6 months on hormones in 5 days, and this will go through a bit of that. This first picture is from when I first tried eyeliner. I had this idea of being Alison from The Breakfast Club for Halloween, which is an idea that I think I ended up executing the year after I thought about doing it, but it was the first time I experimented with makeup and liked it, evidently. Alison from The Breakfast Club was a weirdly formative figure in me realizing what I wanted to look like and how I wanted to present. This is a reference picture, basically, of just what I would look like day to day. Then we have another experiment with eyeliner, then again experimenting with a moustache just for one day. I was at Belfast Met at the time, and I went in there for one day with the moustache and I was like, no. You can also see my shaving skills, which have not improved since then. This is my first time experimenting with lipstick. I also bought a blue eyeliner. I quickly learned not to, well, I didn't learn not to apply too much lipstick, as you can see, but I did learn that just smearing lipstick sort of vaguely over your mouth turns out doesn't work. This was a point at which I was like, I think I might not be a cis man, and for me that's always been really, really linked to my presentation, which is something I'll get back to in a minute, but at this point, using makeup like this, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm not just a normal cis man, I guess. Not that there's a problem with cis men using makeup, obviously. Then this was the day after the last photo. This was like February 2016, where I went to this poetry reading with my blue eyeliner on, and it's a fantastic jumper, and I got compliments on how I looked, which literally, like, apart from close loved ones, never happened before, and it was a new and alien experience. Jumping ahead, this is March 2016, where I had come out, I think, just to a few close friends, including my girlfriend at the time and her friend, who offered to make me up very kindly, which I'm still grateful for. And this was the result of that. This was before I felt I was a trans girl, but while I felt I was a non-binary person, because there was a sort of gradient over 2016 of me realizing that not only was I non-binary, I was also a trans girl, but at this point I was a little more happy than I am now being more gender fucky. I found it really hard to keep up this kind of gender non-conforming look, and started, especially over 2017, but also into late 2016, more trying to just pass as a cis woman as a method of safety and as a method of self-sustainability, I suppose. Trying to not get stared at so much in the street, and try not have invasive questions asked of me so much. Though that doesn't work so well. The first time I wore tights, which, tights are amazing. You can tell I have these rolled up, fairly long shorts that I had for years, but I took to paper clipping them up to be shorter, which is like a surprisingly good look, to have just a bunch of paper clips holding your shorts up. This is the first time I shaved my legs, which just chews through a razor. It's really hard, which is something that I learned at this point. This is through May, a point at which I was still confident enough to have a shirt that showed my chest hair, which I'm incredibly self-conscious about now. But this is the point at which I started going to university, and it was very important to me that I was sort of evidently not a cis man for the start of term. It's weird going through the changes in my own thoughts about presentation at this point, because this is a point at which I was feeling really self-conscious about not having the time to shave, but I did have the time to put on lipstick, and I really had to convince myself it's fine that people can see your stubble, but you'll still be wearing lipstick. It's fine to be gender non-conforming. At this point, often how I feel is if I don't conform to femininity, then it's not even worth the effort of wearing any makeup or a dress or a skirt or whatever. I think partly because, or mostly because, I know I'll be stared at, and I know I'll feel uncomfortable because of pressure from other people. And this is January. This is January this year, the first day that I started hormones, looking very shiny, like weirdly shiny. But from this point on, it's generally like just pictures of me slowly changing a very small amount on hormones. Hormones they take ages. They do lots, and they're magic. But man, if they could hurry up, that would be nice. Most of these photos are of me with like a full face of makeup, which is not what I have the effort to do, not what I have the energy to do most days, because of what I described about like a kind of all or nothing mentality. And this is pretty much me at this point. HRT is doing things, however slowly. There's you can't. All of these are pictures of my face, apart from the ones of my legs, so you can't really see it. There's a curve here, fairly soon after I came out as non-binary. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit very quickly before my camera ruins everything again. Is it about to do it? Okay, so I wanted to talk very quickly about the course of events and the course of actions that led me to realizing I was not cis and coming out. So I started realizing I wasn't cis when I started wearing makeup and dresses and other typically feminine stuff like that. It wasn't like an awakening of like a true gender inside of me. It's just that I had never felt an internal sense of gender identity. One had just been sort of put on me, and I didn't really mind for the most part during my adolescence, because most of my friends were online. I wouldn't really get a sense of gender presentation so much, because that's very physical. And also I had a long-term girlfriend for most of my adolescence, for like 4 years between when I was 14 and 18. That sort of made me fairly complacent, fairly comfortable in how I looked. I mean, I still felt sick if I thought about how I looked, which maybe I should have understood beforehand. It was only when I broke up with my girlfriend and moved up to Belfast on my own that I started actually considering my body as like a physical thing that existed, and had to start thinking about how my body looked to everybody else. And I started looking at people around me being like, well, girls are really pretty. Why can't I be pretty? I would like that. Because my presentation and how I want to look is absolutely the driving factor in me not being cis. And you can look however you want and be trans if your gender identity doesn't match that which you were assigned at birth. Like, that is not an issue for most other people, or most other trans people that I've met. But for me, it's always been about a look. Not in a superficial way, but in a way where everybody else will see me closer to how I would want to be seen myself, and which doesn't erase the fact that I've never had like this internal sense of gender, but other people are going to apply one to me nevertheless, and I would rather it be this one if they have to. So that's being me.